And all of a sudden I'm like, these women are telling me a time when they felt stuck in their lives. And then I was like, I'll do a summit called Stuck. Yeah, so I had 14 guests. That is a lot if you're doing a summit. And so it was an online video summit. No, that one wasn't. That was just recordings that went out in an email that were just MP3s. That's right, because everybody just did their interviews on the phone at that time. Then I went to all the video stuff. So yeah,
Okay. I've participated in summits before, so
okay,
I understand what you're talking about there.
Yeah. So I went on interviewing, and it's like, I got all these interviews, so it's just like, I did 8 months, one after another. I don't know if you've ever attempted a summit. They're a lot of work, right? And so when people who really get like doing a summit, they might do them once in a year, like twice in a year would be the most. When I tell people like that I did 8 months in a row of summits. I had 8 summits for 8 months in a row. And they're like,
wow.
I just had it down to a simple system, so it totally worked for me.
But it is a very rather large thing to take on, so I can appreciate 8 months of that.
Yeah, and so then each summit had a name, so it was like Shift, the Paradigm Shifters. There was one that was just all veterans, women vets. I can't remember what that was. Okay. Something about speak up and something. Ooh. Anyways, so and it had social media type one, word, get it out there, and change was one of them, and be yourself or something like that. Anyways, so then I took 2 so I had 16 in the compilation book, and took 2 guests and put them in small books. So I literally published 9 books in 1 month.
Whoa.
What? Yeah, and each of the little books had the name of one of the summits. So there were the 8 summits, so they're the 8 little books, and then 2 guests each, and those were the same people that were in the compilation book. If you added them all together, it made the compilation book. So that was really fun. So like, I don't know if you've seen on LinkedIn, I'm up to doing my 20th book. Wow. like really cheated that month. I got 9.
That's amazing. I don't have one.
I know, right? And I don't even think of myself as an author, until just like last year. It's like, gee, I'm up to like 18 books. I suppose I could call myself an author now. But I feel like a big cheater because I don't read. I hate reading, and I got to really be interested to get through a book. And I don't feel like I write. I just feel like I can just get a total download, and then there's nothing to edit. Or I just don't bother to write. And I'll write little bits and pieces. I'll do a post and I'll grab it and throw it in a Drive doc. And then when I'm going to go do a book, I just go hunting around my computer and like, ooh, that would work. Because I'm like a really good content editor. Like, here's the big picture and here's all the little pieces. And that's where my clients totally fall apart. And so they'll be like, yeah, I want to put this in there. And I was like, okay, so this is your container, and this is what you're saying, and this is the message. And if you stick this in here, especially if you stick it right here, do you feel that kind of waters down the message or the impact that these lines were having on the reader? Think about you being the reader. And they're like, oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, maybe that'd be for another book. Or maybe we can put it at the end for like additional information. But they can then see how it just totally breaks up what they had going. So I keep them out of self-sabotage big time. And I guess that's a real rare thing for a person's brain to be able to go hold a part to hold that quickly. Like most people don't have that hold apart thing, period. So, and then the other thing I'm good at is your thoughts, my thoughts, our thoughts. So like, here's my thought, put it in the center. I wait for you. You put your thought in the center. We discuss those thoughts, and then we conclude with an our thought, and can either move forward or not, but and a lot of people don't have, that's a developmental skill that a lot of people don't have as well. So it's like, my friend's a neurodevelopmental specialist. I learn all these little things about myself.
Oh my gosh. And isn't that amazing? We're never done learning, are we? We're such complex human beings. Yet we think we have it figured out. Right?
Yeah, and I have the advantage of, like, in my human design, I don't know, do you know human design? Have you heard of human design? Okay, so in my human design, I like rode into this world not knowing who I am, right? And so what did I do? I took everybody's quizzes and Myers-Briggs and all that, you know, find out who I am. And so, yeah, that's turned out to be a very, you know, translatable, people can pay me for thing, because I can just grab from different things to help them have a better understanding of not just even who they are, what's in alignment for them, right? And I can connect with them on that more soul level, soul to soul. So they're like, I'll say something, they're like, you're right. And it's like, I'm always going to be right. That's your soul talking. You know? We've had fun with that one. And the most fun we've had, like I've had with my book clients, is go read your damn book. And the other day, it's usually more the F word though. And the other day it was like, I need to go read your damn book. Because I was screwing up going, yeah, I gotta go read your book, don't I? That's a rare one, but usually it's like, go read your book.
As a reminder, right?
Trauma story, yeah. And they've like come through, and it's like, you're backpedaling here. Go read your book. Learn from yourself.
If we're willing to learn, there's so much to be learned, right?
They can't be my clients if they're not. They'd be fired before they'd be hired.
Well, how long have you been at this, Linda? Has this been your whole career?
No, let's see. Well, I have another life.
Okay.
Another life. Well, if you want to go way back,
I want to go to where you're comfortable starting.
Sometimes it makes sense to go way back. So, and the work that Terry and I do with the vets and suicide and all that. So I lost my dad from suicide. He was a vet between junior and senior year of high school. And then a few months later, I had promised my dance teacher, I was headed for professional dance, promised my dance teacher I wouldn't go on the equipment, but I wanted to be on the gymnastics team. And so we agreed I'd just do 4. So then my coach was like, we need your beautiful ballet arms. We're not going to have enough kids and we'll get more points if you just do something on the equipment. Would you do it? I know you don't really want to do that. And I'm like, oh, all right, you know. And I'm super empathic, so I'm sitting in the locker room freaking out the day of, and she was so worried I was about to have a nervous breakdown because I just knew something really bad was going to happen. And so when I got out there, she wasn't watching the mats, and we didn't have a crash pad in those days that I was doing the beam. And so when I did the round off at the end, the girl ahead of me, I didn't do the beam, so I didn't think to check the mat. Like, that's what you do, evidently. So she had slid the mat. My coach didn't notice it. I didn't notice it. And when I did the round off, I came down on the foot of the beam. So I crushed my heel, which wasn't the big deal. I shifted my ankle bone, so it rode bone on bone, and a bruised bone hurts worse than a broken bone. And so I lost my ability to do like those 8-hour rehearsals of a professional dancer, right? So then I met some guy in college, and my dance teacher, said, you're doing pretty good now. Like, they said, you'll be lucky if you walk and you'll never dance again. And it took me a month to get the swelling down just to get into a cast, so just so you know the severity of it. Well, anyways, so when I was, I think I was definitely out of high school. Maybe I was like 19, almost 20. My dance teacher said, I'll take you to Medora was it North Dakota, South Dakota, whatever. It was an amphitheater, and she choreographed there. And so she was like in charge. And she said, if you can't make the 8-hour rehearsals, it's just me, so it won't be a big deal. But I'd like to see you try it, And so then I go and tell this guy I'm dating and knowing I am going to marry him. He goes, well, you can go, but I might not be there when you get back. And I'm like, maybe I just won't go, because I just know, like, I'm supposed to marry him, kind of thing. And so I didn't. And then we ended up having crazy kids, 2 kids, boy and a girl. And my background was special ed. I had like eventually 4 licenses in special ed, and I couldn't figure out my kids. So anyways, I had like, Terry and I both joke now, we had 33-year starter marriages. Both of us did. Once we came together, we thought about his marriage. He'd been divorced about 5 years. And it's like, we both had 33 years starter marriages. Neither one of us wanted to leave those marriages. So anyways, and that got really confusing too. So that's my former life. And and I really just lost the dancer thing. Like I was the dancer. So then I was the special ed teacher. And then I started working with a coach. She was actually a shaman and a coach. And she's like, you are the dancer. And I'm like, okay. And then we listed out what is dance? What does it mean? And how that translates into, say, like a personality or whatever. And it's like, I am the dancer. That was cool. And then Terry, like I had seen him at different events, and he was like, he came in, he's telling me this, like he's kneading with me one night telling me this, but he was like, I just like went when I first saw you and knew that, you know, you're mine and I'm marrying you. I'm like, what? Right? So we had seen each other at different events, but the first time he saw me, that's how he felt. He was in a committed relationship. She didn't want to get married, but he had been in that relationship almost 3 years. And somebody said, how about Vettrus-Nichols? And I go, nah, he's all ego. I don't like that. Yeah. So anyways, I walked into an earth meditation and it sat next to him. And then I didn't realize it, but I had thrown out a flirt and he flirted back. And it's like, but, well, no, he threw it out because he said something like, I've always wanted to go with the love of my life to the Continental Divide and watch the sun rise. And I said, I have 2 sleeping bags. When are we going? And then I went, oh, I just flirted back. And then he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, it's a little cold right now. Because it was Valentine's Day. But maybe later. And I'm like, okay. And then he called me because I had mentioned something about a group of people. And this was that. It was like a peace meditation at somebody's house. That was the first time he had seen me. And so I had mentioned there were people from that group that like to go to dance to jazz or something like that. And I found out he liked jazz. So he calls me the next day and he said, if you're putting a group together, I'd love to go. And I'm like, well, I don't know about a group, but you know, I could meet you there tomorrow night. Okay. So then my friend was a neurodevelopmental specialist. I was helping her, and you know, she told me about a place where she was a speaker and she was going to do a presentation. So I got that all set up. And then she goes, have you seen the room? And I said, no, I thought you did. She goes, no, just online. And I'm like, okay, we better go see the room. So we get way over on that end of town, which was Terry's end of town. And the room was like getting new carpeting and outgassing, you know, I mean, they said, yeah, we're putting new carpeting on Friday, but all the work will be done. It'll be fine on Saturday. And it's like, no, you don't understand. We're a bunch of canaries and all the bombs that are coming are a bunch of canaries. Like, we'll all die. We cannot be in that room. We needed a room.
Yeah.
So then we went to another building and, you know, the room was great, blah, blah. So then I'm like calling my girlfriend, hey, I'm over on your end of town. Are you going to pass through here on your way home from work? Do you want to do dinner? And she didn't answer. I just left a message. So then I'm like, well, this is stupid. I'm not going all the way home. It's been a dumb triangle, you know, to go meet him. I called him and I said, I don't know if you're still working, but I'm over on your end of town. Do you want to come meet me for dinner? Do you want me to bring you some dinner? He goes, oh, bring me dinner. That would be great. And I'm like, okay. Then my friend calls. So we had dinner. I brought in some dinner. And it was like 6:30 by the time I got to his place. And he starts telling me his whole journey story, and all these drawings are on the wall. And I'm just like, it's not linearly making sense to me, but on a spiritual level, it's like, this guy's like spiritual journey, if you will, isn't mine, but they go together like, you know? I was like, wow. and then by 10:30, he's knee to knee with me going, I saw you at Mona's and I just wanted to scoop you up. I want to tell your mind I'm marrying you. And I'm like, you want to marry me? When do you want to marry me? And he's like, ooh, she said when. And he goes, a week and a half, 2 weeks, take your time. And I go home crying because it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I didn't want to be divorced, and I was, you know, out looking for a place to live, and I have to live with these other women, and it's just like, it's just driving me crazy. And so I'm like crying, going, what is this, you know? And so then I texted him and I go, she ponders these things in her heart. And I was like, oh, now I feel like a Virgin Mary or something. So he calls me and we talk till 3 a.m, and he's Capricorn and so is his daughter, and they talk 5 minutes if there's a problem and 10 minutes if there's a crisis, right? So she's like, who is this woman that captivated my father for 3 hours on the phone after she'd just been with him for like 4 or 5 hours? And so she wanted to meet me. Yeah. So anyways, and I made him wait an extra half a week. 2.5 weeks later, we were married.
What?
Mm-hmm. Spiritually married.
Yeah.
I still wasn't even divorced yet. And then a year later, we did the legal beagle just to make my mother happy.
Aww. What a story, girl.
Yeah.
And when was that? How long has that been?
Yeah, it all started in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. That's crazy.
What a whirlwind, girl. I love that story.
Yeah, and that's like kind of just the setup for the story, because then we were like, well, what are we going to do? You know, like, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And
like work-wise, you mean?
Yeah, like I had been helping mostly moms pull their kids out of autism and ADHD and stuff biochemically, right? And they bring me these kids like, the teacher says they can't learn. I know they can. They are a lot like me when I was in school. Help, you know? And so I had all that going. And then I literally took a tape recorder to the moms, like, tell your story, you know? So my first book was done, I think I started in 96 and finished it in 98. So then when it came together with Terry in between in 97, I started like documenting how I was working with these kids that everyone was saying they can't learn. It's like, oh, so how does your brain learn? So I came up with a way to imprint the brain at 100% accuracy. And I figured out what were those foundational connected things for learning, that they weren't maybe the easiest things to learn, but they were super connected and foundational. And so I imprinted them on the kids' brains, and they just went, you know. And then I took it to a psychiatric day treatment center and to a private Christian school, K through 12, and it was working like crazy. And I got into infant reflex work and integration work, and I got into neural development. And so anyways, I handed Terry the book because I still had come out with it when I met him, and he finishes reading it and he looks at me and goes, you're a genius. And I'm like, you're supposed to say that. And he goes, you know, I wouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, you're really picky.
Right.
So I finally came out with that when a friend from Facebook actually came here with her family, and I knew they were trying to decide if they were going to homeschool or not. And I said, well, whether you homeschool or not, here's what I created. They were like on their way out the door to leave. And I hadn't even thought of it while they were here. And I showed it to her, and she's a systems thinker, and she totally got it. And so then I thought, oh, well, maybe I'm supposed to just do online with it, you know. So I created it into an online program while her husband homeschooled the kids, you know. Then I came out with the book. And so there's sort of that big leap of that one. And then when we did come together, I got a coach, and then found myself at a big event. And then Terry and I just became coaches. And this thing that he created that helps with the self-sabotage, procrastination, and then we found out helps with PTSD and complex PTSD. So we took that, so it was kind of like fix the person, fix the business, and that was what we were offering in like a coaching package. So after the event, we met with some coaches and they invited us to do a VIP day with them. And they're like, well, you could be evolutionary healer and you could work with healers and practitioners. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's available as a URL. And they sent us home to sell a 3-month, $5,000 package. And I'm like, no problem. Terry sold cars. He's sold men's and women's custom clothing. He'll sell it. And then I get invited to somebody's basement for like a health thing. And I'm walking around and just about to leave. And I run into a mama. I had worked with her like 7 months prior with her daughter to help her daughter. And her daughter was just getting out of Hazelton. You know, the kids with the ADHD and all the sugar, they can get into the alcohol. And we just commiserated about her daughter. And she goes, well, what about you? What are you doing? And I told her, and she's like, you're a coach now? And I'm like, yeah, why? And she's like, because I'm a realtor now. I'm going to get a coach, but I've got something in my past and I can't get at it. And I know a real estate coach isn't going to do it. I'd love to work with you and your husband. Okay. You know, and then like, I don't know, a week or two later, I talked to this other gal and she's got like 9 employees and she's a massage therapist. And we were just chatting because she liked my book and had invited me to a book signing with it at a health thing a couple years prior. And she's like, so what about you? And I'm like, well, and I tell her a story and she's like, you're a coach? And I'm like, yeah, why? And she's like, well, because I have a coach and he's really good, but I just feel like I need something different now. I'd love to work with you and your husband. And I go back to my coaches and going, what was that? And they're like, well, you were selling to the people that you had established to know, like, and trust. I'm like, you call that selling? And they're like, yeah, it's authentic relationship. Well, they said it's relationship marketing. So now I call it authentic relationship marketing.
I love it. I love it. And I sense that when I was chatting with Terry too, that there isn't this overt, aggressive way of selling. It's just a natural flow. And I think that's what you're describing right now, right?
People ask me. I don't ask them.
Right. Yeah, that's because, yeah, for sure, the aura that you give off, right? Well, but isn't that true? Yeah. Because I said to you, there's something about you, Linda. I don't know what it is. I just connect with you. And I think that's your open heart and your willingness to have deeper conversations. And obviously you like to add, and as do I love to smile and add humor to my conversation. Not everything's, you know, a lot of times we talk about the deeper issues, but that doesn't mean we need to be deep and stuck in that all the time either. We need that humor and that laughter around the deeper issues, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Right.
And so I found,
because the brain doesn't know the difference, right?
Right. And even Terry, right? Like Terry hops on a call and he's right away, he's got, you know, something funny to add. And I love that because here we are. It's not that everyone's anxious. It's that there's a lot of emotion in when we all come together, right? And so I hold emotion. And so for me, it's nice that Terry comes in with a little bit of laughter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he has that very calm voice.
Yes.
People just love that. Absolutely. Yeah. The one thing we learned about us and how we project our energy was we were we invested $17,000 to go to an event, and they didn't tell us when we'd be doing our breakout and or day or time. Excuse me. And when we got there, they're like, here's your champagne, walk the pink carpet, go in this room and get your gifts from all these vendors, and then go in this room and make your commercial. And we're like, what commercial? And they're like, oh, the one we're going to show to the 800 people that are attending this event. Okay, right? And then we get in there and Terry starts freaking out, and the guy was like, I'll step outside, and I'm like, I'll probably come with you. And he grabs me and he's like, no, don't leave. And I'm like, you better shape up real fast. He goes, I will, I'll be good. I'm like, okay, because we didn't know what we were gonna even say,
right?
So then after they showed the commercials to everybody, we had this couple approach us and go, you know, your commercial is really different from everybody else's. And we're like, oh, okay, why's that? And they're like, well, because everybody else was just pushing their energy out at us. You guys were just like pulling us in. You were telling us, you know, but we didn't get all of it, you know, but what you were saying was like really interesting. We didn't completely understand what it is, just enough to make us want to go to your breakout. And my poor little ego was like, well, good, you know? And on the way out of the room after they said that, we get flagged down. Hey guys, we know when your breakout is. It's Friday at 8 a.m. And I'm like, what? We're in Vegas. We're competing with go out drinking and free breakfasts in the casino. When you're at 8 o'clock on Friday, everybody's gonna be really tired by that day. And so then I was like, you better get it together. Then I had a little talk with myself, right? And so I just got that all chilled out. And we had people literally grab us in the hallway after our breakout saying, we couldn't get in. They locked the doors. We weren't even late. It was 10 minutes to, and we were early, and they still locked us out. And we're like, yeah, we filled the room with 60 people, and fire code means, you know, I gotta shut the door. And they're like, oh, we're so sad. We missed it. And I was like, well, that's okay. We can talk when we get home, you know? And they're like, oh yeah. I was like, do you have a card? You know, they're like, they're giving me their card, you know? So we just went like this when we got home. And we found out we're really good at follow-up because we turned that $17,000 investment into $48,000 in 3 weeks and $68,000 in 2 months. And all we were doing was just selling the CR process. We weren't even packaging it with the coaching.
Wow.
And we didn't sell anything while we were there. Well, we sold one thing while we were there. We had a booth too. And this one gal came and she really wanted to do this. She knew this was so for her. And I think we were talking like a $500 deposit or something. And she said, I have 200. And she wrote us a check. And we're like, okay, great. And then she comes back the next day and she goes, she had a check in her hand. She goes, you're not going to believe this. And we're like, what? She goes, I was digging through some drawers last night and I ran across a checking account that I'd forgotten all about and it had exactly $300 in it. Here's the rest of it.
Oh my gosh.
Those are our people.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. So you just attract clients.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when you do, if you're in alignment with yourself, because then they can totally see you, right?
I totally agree with what you just said. And I do sense and feel that with you and Terry. Yeah, so you're awesome role models for all of us, right?
Oh, it's so fun. Thank you. Well, I'm learning a lot from Humans First. A lot.
Oh, me too. And I think the biggest thing I'm learning from Humans First is how to be a human.
I know, right?
And it to be okay. And to be able to have these conversations outside of the workplace is amazing.
Yeah, and what I love about a lot of the Humans First is they're going back into corporate or they're still in corporate and they're making it better, so to speak, so that the humans first conversations can actually be done in the workplace. That's the huge shift I'm seeing that I'm like clapping all the time for.
Right. Yes. Myself being an empath and highly sensitive, I've tapped into a lot of what's missing and didn't know how. First of all, I haven't followed a traditional path of education, formal titles. So my knowledge, a lot of it is more on based on my experiences, not on the formal traditional path. And I've had to do a lot of work on my mind to accept that in a world that wants me to conform and that wants me to do it their way. And I didn't realize as I go through more and more discovery of myself, I recognize all the guideposts from a young girl to now that were leading me to where I am now, and how resistant I was. And how I used to think that I had to fit in, and how it was because the alternative standing out meant that you were different and that you would be judged, and that Yeah, just Linda, there's all these light bulbs going off for me, because when I was 13 and at that pivotal age where we are coming into our independence, that was a time in my life where I was met with a lot of naysayers, because I was raised around a lot of boys. So I was very tomboyish, and I got along with the boys more than I got along with the girls. And so I was labeled, and stuff like that weighed so heavy on my heart, Linda, because I'm such an emotional, empathic person, team player, that stuff hurt me, and I didn't know how to process it. I went inside, right, and thought, oh, it's me. I need to adapt. I need to conform. I need to be how others want me to be in order to be accepted and to be liked.
Wow.
And that plagued me for a very long time. A very long time. And it is through my persistence of not wanting to believe everything that's out there. No, I think you can be unconventional. I think there are other ways. And I'm just now stepping into my power, I feel. Although it's been a slippery slope, Linda. And again, it's because I'm at a pivotal point in my life where I'm wanting to transition into the coaching field without holding those previous titles. And so, that imposter syndrome was like, ding, ding,
super, right?
here, look at me.
Yeah.
Right? And so I just left corporate at the end of November because I had this burning desire in me. I just can't do this anymore. The leadership, oh my gosh, I can't.
Yep.
It's hurting my soul. I come into work, and first of all, I mean, I'm very positive, and I really love being on a team, and I love people. And so the people I work with are on board, and you know, I love working with them. It's the leadership that is just old school, predominantly men that just don't get it.
Nope.
And I can't anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I don't care. I don't care. I left the workforce. I don't have any income right now, and I'm the happiest I've ever been.
I know, right?
So, right? It's like, I'm just realizing every day, and certainly through the Humans First group, how I need to stay on my path, even though there are naysayers, and even though it's an uphill battle, it's one worth taking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I find now that there's support now with my thinking, right? I was thinking, just about 10 years ago, I went to university for the first time ever. Based on my previous experiences as a teen, I thought for sure that university was above my level.
Oh, interesting.
And it wasn't until in my life, I got married, I had children, I chose to leave the workforce, and eventually I ended up feeling really restless, and that my mind, I needed to get my mind thinking. And so that was the time where I was like, I always wanted to go to university, but didn't have the strength or thought that I could do it. And now I feel like I'm going to try one course. I had more confidence. I was a mom now. I was married. I had a lot of support. And so off I went, and I loved it. I had the best experience ever.
Cool.
And during that time, I volunteered for an organization. I was taking conflict resolution, which was relatively new at that time.
Okay, cool.
The literature on conflict res was only about 20 years old, 10 years ago. So consequently, when I graduated, there wasn't an abundance of opportunity for me.
Okay.
What was available was where I was volunteering was a conflict resolution organization that catered to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked to volunteer there while I was a student, and I really wanted to be a workshop facilitator.
Oh, cool.
And so I had asked for that role, and they were like, okay, Jen, yeah, sure, we'll set you up with a veteran.
Ooh,
Just someone,
interesting.
I'm sorry, not to use that in the word as someone in the military.
Not military.
No, I just mean someone who had been at this for 25 years.
Sure.
And so you can co-facilitate with them. And I had already taken the class or the workshop as a student, and now I was going to be the co-facilitator.
Cool.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And I went into that, and it was so emotional, right? I mean, I picked up everyone's emotions.
Sure.
And then at each breakout, we went into the veteran facilitator during the break would deliver feedback to me.
Ouch.
I wasn't ready for that.
No, not as an empath. Not at all.
So I don't know if you can tell where this is going, but right after that day, that was an 8-hour day. I left there. I had volunteered at that organization now for over 80 hours. And something was missing. I wasn't connecting. After doing that workshop, I felt totally disconnected. My partner at the time, I was like crying to him because I was like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 years since I left the workforce. The kids are at the point where my second youngest is now entering kindergarten. So there's different needs at home. I'm now graduated. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go back to my comfort zone. So I did that. And that was, geez, Linda, come on.
I know, right?
10 years.
Climb it out.
But you know what? I was also going through something else in those 10 years. So I got back into the workforce to these administrative jobs. Well, you can imagine within 6 months, I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, right.
So then I'd find another job and it would be for more income and I'd settle into that and 6 months would go by and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get out of here.
Oh my God.
The leadership is killing me.
Yeah, right?
Like, I have way more to say. And I'm putting myself into positions that typically have no autonomy, that typically you're micromanaged, that typically you don't have a voice.
Right.
Right?
Totally.
I didn't realize that at the time, but yeah, so I kind of clawed my way. And then as things started to go on, my relationship started to crumble and
been there. Wow.
I put myself into a work that was like very demanding with long hours to escape the relationship issues. And
right.
Finally, that's bubbled up and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving this demanding job because I need to deal with these relationship issues. And so I'm just going to go to a safe job where I know I can have time and just kind of take what I need and it's not going to cost me.
Right.
So that's what I did. And after the separation and the therapy and all of that, it was like, I really want to move forward with my life. I really feel like I could be doing more. This is ridiculous. I need to get off this hamster wheel. How am I going to do this? Oh, I'm going to get a coach. But how am I going to get a coach? What the hell? How do you find a coach?
Oh.
You go to Google.
Yeah, right.
So Google I went and I'm like, oh, what's this? You can learn how to become a coach?
Oh, that's funny.
Oh. Well, what do you have to do?
Right.
Well, I was hook, line, and sinker because it so coincided with my empathy and my compassion. And
right.
What I realized going through, instantly I was like, sign me up. So I immediately registered for training. And as soon as I got in there, probably into the second module, I learned that I didn't have to save people and that there was another way to do it. And I was like, what? I've been trying to save people since I was 2 years old. What do you mean?
I know, right? Now you've just stripped me of my complete identity.
I don't have to save them? No, you can coach them to do it themselves. What? Teach me, oh wise one.
I'm
I need
hungry.
to know. And so I just went into the vortex, Linda.
Yeah, right?
And here I am.
And here I am. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Well, I had to do my own transformation. And so, you know, separating from my 20-year marriage was a big step. And then I've downsized accordingly. It really just stripped my life down to me. And I've been slowly rebuilding as me. And I absolutely am in heaven.
Yeah.
Even though I'm alone, I'm not lonely.
Nope.
The first time in my life that I feel like a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
And I can't help, my cup is overflowing, and I have to help others now. I can't stay by myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Linda, but of course you can imagine, I've had difficulty in finding my voice. I've had difficulty in something about coaching, and what's going on with coaching makes me feel like I have to declare, okay, I can help you transform your life and become this. Like I just,
your better self,
right? It feels
that line just gets me every time.
Yes,
I can help you be your better self,
right?
What's a better self? Seriously.
And honestly, Linda, I've been spinning my wheels because I've been around branding coaches. I've been around people who are trying to coach me to.
You got to do this. You got to do that.
Pick a lane, and I'm just like.
And or you got a niche, and it's like, no, you don't. You get to have conversations,
right?
and have fun.
Like, well,
and have a pleasure list, not a to-do list.
What's the tangible? What's the tangible? I'm like, what do you mean? What's the tangible? Let's get on a phone call. I cannot fortune tell what's going to be the tangible. All I know is we're going to have a conversation, and there's going to be a breakthrough.
Yeah,
I don't know how to put that in words. But so that's, I want to be in these coaching conversations.
Yeah.
I've never sold before.
Good. That's a good? Plus. No, it's a real good plus, actually.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that, because it's those things that can shut me down at times, right?
Oh, yeah.
And just feeling like, who am I? And second guessing myself. And so I'm finding my strength through the Humans First calls by being surrounded by people who have already surpassed the level that I'm at.
Yeah.
They're talking about it in the way that I need to hear, so that I can relate it more to what I want to say and what I want to do. And so this has kind of been my journey. And that's why I connected with you. I just felt something with you. I've actually, even Mike Vacanti, I'm like, ooh, I need some serious talking right now. And although I had never spoke to him before, it was like, there's something about him that he can hold that space for me. And I called him, or reached out to him, and awesomely enough, he picked up my request. And boy, after that call, I had a major breakthrough.
Oh, good.
So I'm just recognizing the value of surrounding myself with those people.
Right. Absolutely.
And every day just trying to put one foot in front of the other, and try to build this coaching practice that I know in my heart I'm on the right path. I just have to find the words to express it to the other people.
You don't have to, though. You get to, right?
Ah, okay.
There's a first shift for you right there.
Right.
Because we lie to ourselves. And in fact, I come up with there's pretty much 7 main ones that it's pretty typical of humans. And then there's additional words like hope can be a lack word, and but. We use but so much. But negates what you just said. And we're so brainwashed to it, we're not even hearing how we're using it. There might be a time to use it. And I just learned that like super successful people, they don't use but, however, or although. I'm like, wow, I hadn't heard that one before. That's interesting. I get it.
It's a great mindset, right? To kind of eliminate, and the word should.
We should.
That's a sticky one too, right? It just adds that pressure, that invisible, or that judgment.
It loses us. It's just not in alignment. Because a should is you're doing it for someone else, really. And I should on myself at the point of death. I didn't even know that I had died having a baby. I didn't hear about that for like 2 weeks or something. And then now I call him the husband mentioned it because he overheard me telling this story to one of my friends that I was looking up in the mirror when I was on the delivery table and I could see everybody buzzing around. And then all of a sudden I felt like I was in the mirror looking down at everybody. And he's like, oh, that makes sense because, you know, like your heart stopped and they had to revive you. And I'm like, because I was leaving. And then I saw I could feel I was leaving. And once I was in the mirror looking down, there was a sensation of going, you know. And then I looked back down, saw everybody buzzing around, by this time I think I was probably, you know, working again, and they were handing me the baby, and I was just like, because we do float around outside of our bodies a lot. So anyways, I'm like, I should go back. I think that baby needs me. So I should on myself. And then it was, I think, at the soul level, we know, right? So it was an interesting ride. And then I had a client, they've studied her in even universities. She had 2 heart surgeries in 1 year. And during the second heart surgery, evidently they didn't give her enough stuff to put her out. She felt like she had risen out of her light body, like her light body had come out of her, is how she described it. And she was facing herself, and then it turned and floated, and she said there was like this golden umbilical cord. And then she said and then she said there were these golden just bubbles floating around. And she goes, I knew who everybody was. I knew everything about them. And I think about the Bible and the Lamb's Book of Life, you know, it's all right there. And then when she said the bubbles, I started to thinking about the orbs you hear about, like at Mount Shasta, or even if you just take a picture, sometimes there's these like bubble looking things. And
yes, I've seen those. Or yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, those are the orbs, you know. It's like, that's like probably us floating around outside of our body. Like, and so I teach to embody, like bring your soul into your body, get it down into between kind of the belly button and the pubic bone area, which I don't know a lot about chakras. That's the second chakra. Okay. And yeah, so that's the work that I do. And I just take people through a simple clarity exercise and get them fully embodied, and then get them speaking their truth, if you will, their aligned words from their fully embodied soul. Because anything you think about God, like omnipresent, omniscient, all powerful, la 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 la, right? That's our soul. And you can bring that into you. And then as a human, you're now in your power. And Terry always says, make your decisions from your heart or with your heart, use your soul for counsel and your brain for storage. And then I always add for temporary storage, you know, get it out on paper, because especially us women, you know, we got way too much storage going on in the first place. So, yeah.
I'll tell you, meditation has, I have a really, a long meditation practice. Well, 6 years isn't that long, I suppose. However, it has helped me immensely.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right. And also in today's world, I think that there is more need for coaches as well to help us, like you're saying, really connect with our soul in a world that is vying for our attention, right? And just wants us to conform so much. And we
Exactly.
forget that we all possess that inner power, right? I know I didn't know I had it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I went through that transformation myself.
Yep. It's
And
beautiful.
so, yeah, I'm so happy that we got a chance to connect today, Linda. I
Same
really
here.
enjoyed your story today. I should probably get going as we've been on this call for an hour now. Not that that's a problem, but
Yeah.
I know you have a life as well.
Well, I had a friend reach out and I said I'd call her after 11, so timing's good. So
Oh,
yay, we're at our
wonderful,
soul level. We're doing
wonderful.
it
Yeah.
just
So
click, click.
what I'd really like to do is to give a listen to those what you sent me yesterday. I really think that there would be value from hearing all those stories
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
women that you interviewed.
Yeah.
And I would love to connect with you again going forward, as
For
I find
sure.
that you would be a really good resource to talk to about this stuff.